What's up, guys? 3x to the Lex, right back at you with one more video. Let's go. Now, what I'm here to talk to you guys today about is I'm here to discuss the differences between this setup running the Pi 4 that this setup comes with and the Hyperspin PC by Arcade One that I also have had connected to this machine and showed a lot of videos with it running. Primarily, what you get with the Pi 4, everything is pretty much configured to run off of the included controls that are here that you get with the cabinet, the arcade controls. All of the console games, all of those games generally, for the most part, work with the controls, and the button mapping and everything through RetroArch with the Pi is fantastic. So you never really have an issue button mapping anything, and all of the arcade games work. Almost all the console games I don't seem to have an issue with. And it's just integrated really well. I mean, it is designed around that Pi setup, so everything works good. They're still adding like games as we speak. The October update was really nice. The November update is supposed to be really nice. So keep an eye out for that video coming soon. But, I mean, the Hyperspin PC does have more games. Now, when that's connected with the controls, most of the arcade games work, especially in MAME, without much of an issue. As you scroll through a lot of the other platforms, specifically like the Windows platforms, a lot of the console games don't work. That's the thing. Like that Hyperspin PC is pretty much has the console game set up to use a controller. So like PS2, GameCube, PS1 on the Hyperspin PC, Nintendo 64, you're going to have to use a controller for those games on the Hyperspin system. And like that particular setup kind of reveals this conundrum to me. You know, I feel if you're really interested in playing all of the games, most of the arcade games that I enjoy with this system is on the Pi. Most of them. I would say probably 80 to 85% of the arcade games I enjoy is already on the Pi 4. So the primary reason for getting the Hyperspin PC would be to enjoy a lot of the Windows games and the console games. And for that, I would say this. It would make a lot of sense, since most of those need to be enjoyed with a controller anyway, is to just hook your Hyperspin PC to this arcade, switch the inputs, and get you 4 controllers and have at it. You know, and don't even worry about hooking up the arcade controls. I mean, honestly, because you're going to eventually run into button mapping issues with the console games and the Windows games. And most of the arcade games I like is already on the Pi. Now, there are a few arcade platforms, STV, Model 3, that do work with the arcade controls on the Hyperspin PC. You have to determine what's going to be, if that's going to be fine for you, or if you just want to use arcade controls with everything. But if it was me, I would just get me 4 Xbox 360 controllers, a Hyperspin PC, and hook it up to input 3 on this cabinet and switch over whenever I wanted to play the console games and have at it. You know, and when I wanted to go back to playing arcade games, I would just go back to playing arcade games on my Pi. That's just my opinion. You know, having used both of these systems and switched back and forth. Again, the controls work well with the Hyperspin system for arcade games and most of the arcade platforms, but for the most part, they don't work with the console setups. There's a lot of inconsistencies. They work with a few games here and there, especially a few games that were originally arcade games. but there's a lot of inconsistencies and issues there. So you have to keep a really close eye out for that. So anybody looking to buy this cabinet, I mean, it comes with a fantastic selection of games with the included Pi 4. I would say have at that. If you really have a desire to play all of the console games, newer console games that have been ported to Windows PC, like Killer Instinct, Mortal Kombat 11, Street Fighter 5, Street Fighter Cross Tekken, then I would probably look into getting the Hyperspin system, but you may want to consider getting, just playing with a controller, or hey, bringing in your own arcade sticks, because there's just a lot of stuff to be mapped. You may be able to further map those things in the controls, but it will probably throw off other games. It's a lot of work getting everything to work well with the Hyperspin PC. The arcade games are fine, but Windows and console games is really a tall task. So anyway, I just wanted to offer some quick thoughts about what my opinions were about running this system with the included Pi 4 and the Hyperspin PC. Now, that said, as of right now, those are your options. I mean, what's included in this cabinet is fantastic. I mean, at least for me, I buy a classic arcade cabinet to play classic arcade games, That's why I bought this cabinet. I mean, the console games are great. That's a great bonus. But I bought this to play classic arcade games. Real About Fatal Fury, Samurai Showdown. That's why I bought this cabinet. I think everybody buys the cabinet for a different reason. If you're really trying to buy this to play a lot of those newer console games, PS2 and newer, you may want to look into getting Arcade One Hyperspin PC, 8 terabyte. They have you covered. I know they have a 16 terabyte drive coming. You'll be able to play all of those things. But the thing is, you will probably be playing with a controller for a lot of that stuff, which is fine. I mean, you still be connected to an arcade unit. I mean, and that's not really a deal breaker for me. I mean, when Tekken 6 came out back in the day, they had PS2 controller ports. I used to play on that arcade at the arcade with my PS2 controller all the time. So it's not really a bummer or anything. It's just more a realization of what you'll be experiencing if you do go that route. Anyway, 3X to the Lex out. That's all I got for this one. And I wanted to drop that game for you guys and have a moment of real talk to break down the differences between the two. Anyway, like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next one. 3X to the Lex out. Peace.